Hello again. All right, we are going to continue with adding and subtracting rational expressions. So as we are progressing through this section, questions are going to be a little bit more challenging, but the idea is the same. Remember, factor, factor, factor all the time, and then lowest common denominator. So factor form, everything has to be written in a factor form. You need to must have LCD because there are rational expressions. The only way you can add or subtract rational expressions is that they must have lowest common denominator, same denominator. Okay, so first example, 1 over a plus 1 plus 1 over a minus 1. All right, so the first thing is that we need to come up with LCD. So the LCD, remember LCD, or the lowest common multiple, is that each of these guys, there are factors, so you put them together because there are no common factors between them. So that's the LCD. And that means each of these brackets, each of these rational expressions, so 1 over a plus 1 must have the same denominator. So a plus 1, so we have to include a minus 1, but remember, multiply the top as well, right? And then plus, and then you do the same thing to the other. So 1 over a minus 1, and then we have to include the other factor that does not have, and multiplying the top as well. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top, and here it is, the final answer. So the top piece, a minus 1 times 1 is a minus 1 plus, I'm going to remove the bracket, there's no need for the bracket, and then this one right here, so this is 1 times a, 1 times minus 1, or 1 times anything is anything, and then 1 times a plus 1 is just a plus 1, all over the denominator, a plus 1, a minus 1. Final, very final thing that you have to do, you need to polish this. So we got 1a plus an a, so we have 2a. The other thing we have, minus 1 plus 1, that is 0, that's gone, right? So 1 minus 1, that's 0. All right, and then our final answer is 2a over a plus 1, a minus 1. Okay, and that's what that is. And now that we are at it, let's talk about restrictions or the non-permissible values. And always you have to base that on the original expressions that you see. And the original expression was this. So, oh, actually, this is a plus. Yeah. And now you look at the denominators only. So both denominators. And remember, they cannot be 0. So what values of a we cannot have? So here, a cannot be negative 1, and in here a cannot be 1. These are your non-permissible values because they make each of these expressions undefined. It becomes 1 over 0, and that's not allowed. Okay, let's look at example B. This example is actually an interesting example. It's a very good example to look at. Let's come up with the LCD first. What is the LCD? So first of all, do you see anything that is common to both brackets, to both denominators? Well, a and a, you see that? So that whatever the LCD is must have an a as a factor in it. The next thing you must have a factor of a plus 4. Okay, let's write it down, a plus 4. And it must have a factor of a minus 3. So this is your LCD, and it has all the factors for both of the denominators. Great. Now let's go through and change each of these denominators to the lowest common denominator that we came up with, and then rewrite the expressions so that we can go ahead and add. All right, so here it is. We have wrote the expressions using the lowest common denominator, and make sure that you are multiplying. So first fraction or first expression, the a plus 4, and a belongs already is there, so the only thing that you have to kind of multiply the denominator is a minus 3, and whatever you do to the denominator you got to do to the numerator of the same rational expression. And then the second rational expression, you do the same thing, but this time a times a minus 3 was already there. You just have to include the a plus 4 as a factor, and you do that. All right, now you just go ahead and multiply. Okay, when you multiply the top, or kind of putting it in a compact form, 4 times a minus 3 will be right here, and then plus, that's the plus sign right there, and then 3 times a plus 4, 3 times a plus 4, and that's what that is. The last thing we have to do is we have to actually go through and kind of expand and then add and subtract like terms, and that would be it. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and then once you multiply through, that's what you will get on top. And the last thing you have to do is to collect like terms. So we have 4a and 3a we are adding, so that would be 7a. So that's taken care of. Minus 12 plus 12, that's 0. So that's 0. We don't have to worry about that. So 7a all over a times a minus 4, a minus 3. And that is your final answer. All right. The NPV for this, so remember you have to go back to the original, and the original was the two fractions, which is that right here. That's the original right on top. So, and basically you look at the lowest common denominator, really that's what it would be. So a cannot be 0, a cannot be 4, just like each of these guys. So this is a minus 4, and then a minus 3, and a cannot be 3. These are your restrictions or non-permissible values. All right, another example. This one a little bit different, but let's go ahead again, put everything into factor form. Notice that the denominators, this one and this one, for both rational expressions, they are not written in factor form. You must put them in a factor form. The top, the numerators, if it is factorable, put them in a factor form as well. So let's just go ahead and put everything in a factor form. All right, now that it's in factor form, the two expressions in factor form, now we can actually go ahead and simplify. That makes it easier. Notice that each of these, so x plus 3 can be divided by x plus 3, so the first fraction becomes easier, x plus 8. Minus, how about, actually there is a mistake right there, that should say x plus 5. Yeah, here you go. So x plus 5 and x plus 5 cancels out, or divide. That would be 2. Whatever is left would be 2 divided by x plus 6. Now the LCD is way more easier than if you would have done the whole thing. All right. So what is the LCD? LCD is x plus 8, x plus 6. So multiply x plus 6, x plus 6 for the first rational expression. Next one, the top must be multiplied by x plus 8 and x plus 8. So the LCD is x plus 8, x plus 6. And now put them all together, and you'll have x plus 6 on top minus 2 times x plus 8 all over x plus 8 times x plus 6. And the next step, you just basically get rid of this bracket on top right here, multiplying 2 through, that's what you will get. And then we have to add and subtract like terms. X minus 2x is minus x. 6 and minus 16, that's minus 10. And this would be your final answer when you're written as an expression. All right.